Okay, thank you, Jim, for that intro. He nailed it. He was practicing it all night last night. And thank you to IEM for having me here today. I'm just really honored and excited to be a part of this event, and it's been really great making new friends today, so that's been the best part. Okay, that worked. In the next 40 minutes, I'm going to briefly talk about my life before entrepreneurship. So I felt trapped, I wanted more freedom and flexibility, and I was ready for a change. Then for the majority of the rest of the time, because I want you guys to get something out of this today, I'm going to talk about how I overcame obstacles to opening my own business and started making profit from day one, and I'm going to share some very tangible things that I learned. At the end, I'm going to leave time for questions, and I'm also going to give away prizes because, like everyone else has said, it's when you give, you get back. So I've learned to really give back. So does that sound good? Cool, okay. Okay, so my life before entrepreneurship is I worked in corporate America for about 10 years. I spent the majority of my time working for the Domino's Pizza World headquarters and for the Red Robin Gourmet Burgers International Corporate Office. Has anyone heard of those companies? Okay. I graduated from Eastern Michigan University. I graduated at the top of my class with a degree in information design and technical writing. I know a lot of people have heard of technical writing. Does anyone know what information design is? Have you heard of that? Information design? So no one's ever heard of that when I tell people. So information design is learning about a specific audience and how they process information, and then designing information to persuade them to think one way or to do something. That's information design. So when I graduated from college, I dreamed of climbing the corporate ladder because I guess I was a robot or something. I thought it was going to make me happy. So I started as an entry-level worker making $40,000, and I worked my way up to 6 figures, but the higher I climbed, the unhappier I became because I felt tied to my job. I felt trapped. I couldn't just turn off my computer at 5 o'clock and go home. There was always something I had to worry about. At that point, I started thinking about opening my own business, but I had a lot of hesitations, and I'll let you guys in on a little secret. I did not make this presentation for you. It gives me clues of what I'm going to say so I don't have to use my notes. This was the only picture I could find when I Googled hesitations. Has anyone heard of this band? Okay, me too. But they are now a part of this. Oh, that didn't work. Okay. So I'm going to talk about my 4 biggest hesitations to opening a business. First, I felt really overwhelmed. I had no idea what it meant to physically open a business. And I was working full time, so there were all these things I wanted to do, but I'm like, well, where do I even start? The second one, I had heard that most new businesses fail in the first year. Has anyone else ever heard that? Okay, that freaked me out. So why would I want to go from a very secure, good paying job to failing? That would be super embarrassing, right? Third, okay, I thought I needed some new idea or innovation like Google or Facebook to be successful in today's world. I thought I have to have something that I can go on Shark Tank with. Has anyone ever kind of felt that way? You needed something new? Okay. And I heard this. Business owners work 24/7. Has anyone ever heard that one too? Why would I want to go from working 40 to 50 hours a week to working 24/7? It just didn't make any sense. So are there any, I covered my big 4. For anyone in the audience, are there any other hesitations or fears that kind of stopped you from opening your own business, if anyone wouldn't mind sharing? Yes, that's a good one. And I'm also bribing people to participate, so you get a prize. Suzanne? Benefits, yep. Okay. Thank you for sharing. So to overcome these fears, this is what I did. first I got some help. I joined a mastermind group with like-minded people who were working full-time but wanted to open their own business. And I got 2 business coaches, and one of them is in the room, Dale. So, and I got advice from other business owners. Whenever you say, oh, I'm gonna open my own business, everyone says, oh, running your own business is so hard. And this comes from people who have never run a business. It bothers me. Have you guys heard that? Everyone says that. And then I actually took the risk. So I launched my business while I was still working full-time. I started making some profit, and then I'm like, I'm gonna quit my job. So I did that 2 months later, which I'll get into in a little bit. All right. Okay, so I just talked about all the hesitations I had about opening my own business. Now I'm going to talk about the why you should open your own business if you're considering it. And I only learned this after taking the plunge. Okay, so my business is Virtual Resume Coach. I offer one-of-a-kind resume, LinkedIn, and career coaching services. I'm really good at helping people find jobs. I charge $175 to write a resume, and it takes me approximately 2 hours from start to finish. If I were to work for another resume company, I would make $30 on average for each resume I wrote. So what I did is I went to Indeed.com and I searched for resume writing jobs. As you can see, compensation averages 18 to 35 per project, with an average project requiring 1 to 2 hours or work effort. So $175 minus $30, that's a difference of $145 that I pocket per resume. And then what I realized that meant is when you work for someone else, you can't decide how that profit is split up. You know, a huge percent could go to someone else. You're always just getting a smaller piece of the pie. Now, let's say I flip this and I'm like, I don't want to do resume writing anymore. I recently have hired 2 resume writers and I'm training them. I can pay them $30 to write a resume and pocket $145 just for starting this business and using my name. So that's reason number 1. Okay, does anyone know what passive income is? Yes?
Income in which you don't really have to do anything. It comes in no matter what. Real estate.
Yes, that's perfect. So passive income is income that is regularly earned, but it doesn't require a lot of effort. Good job. I am really into passive income now. I got a little bit of taste of freedom and I'm like, oh gosh, I don't want to be writing resumes all day. So I'm working on developing some passive income streams. Right now I have 3 big ones set up. I have my self-help books, which I sell on Amazon. They're not for everyone. Not everyone wants to read a book about how to write resumes and then write their own resumes. I sell digital downloads. So I have a couple of resume templates that I created in a Word document. I sell those. And I just created something called the Job Seekers Fastlane Toolkit. And why I created that is because I will get contacted by people who say, Debra, I really want your help, but I can't afford $175. I'm out of work right now. So instead of turning those people away, I have this membership site, which is only $30 at the moment. They can download all my templates, and it has resources for each step of the job hunting process. So that's just something I never thought I was going to create when I first opened this business. Okay, so remember Cassidy was talking in the earlier breakout about company of one? It is really awesome to be your own boss. When I worked in the corporate world, I would have to go to meetings that were a waste of my time, or I would have to do something one way just because it was always done that way. Everything that I do on a daily basis impacts my business. And I can control the business. If I don't want to work as much one week, I take less orders. Or if I don't want to get up early in the morning, I don't start my client calls until 10 o'clock. There really is a lot of freedom in this. And I love this show. Okay. Now, I just talked about all of the reasons why you should open your business, or the big reasons. Now I'm going to talk about how I actually did it. And the first thing I want to talk about is, remember I said, oh, I thought I had to have some innovative new idea. A resume company has already been done before. If you Google resume writing companies, there are hundreds of them. And this first one, the resume writing group, if you go to their website, if they don't get you a job in, I think, 45 days, they pay you $100. That's kind of intimidating to get into a market like that. So what I learned from Dale really pushed me out of the nest with this one, is get your minimal viable product out there to test the waters. Does anyone know what a minimal viable product is?
So let's say back to your middle one, the templates. So if you could just make one template, get it out there and see if it sells, that would be a minimum viable.
Yes, thank you. And you get this. Okay. A minimal viable product helps you gain insight into how to continually develop your product, and it can be less expensive. So what I did is, Dale told me, just get your product out there. It doesn't have to be perfect. And if he hadn't have told me that, I would have tried to make my company and my logo and everything perfect, and it would have taken me years. But what I did is I spent less than $200 to open my business. I paid LegalZoom $150 to do my LLC paperwork because I was not comfortable with that part. I spent $30 on a website. It was not great when I first launched it. And I spent $10 to create my logo. It was a struggle because I'm like, oh, this logo is not perfect, but it doesn't have to stay that way. You know, just the point is, get it out there. Don't try to be a perfectionist. And I'm so glad I did that, because in the first month that I launched it, so I'm like, I put up my website and I'm like, hey, buy this resume service. I didn't say a whole lot about it. When people started buying it, I started getting feedback from them on how to refine the service and really talk about it on the website and market it better. So just getting it out there, I got a lot of feedback. I was able to improve it much faster than trying to make it perfect from the start. Okay, I'm just going to give you a business update. So I opened my business in January of this year while I was still working my full-time job. In February, I quit my full-time job to run the business full-time. This is what has happened in the past 6 months. I've been featured on Job Search Radio. I did not want to do the radio gig, but I forced myself to do it. I landed a contract worth $136,000. I had my biggest sales day 2 weeks ago. I had $1,200 in sales come in one day. Again, this is with no advertising. It's all word of mouth business. And I have progressively increased my monthly sales with no marketing or advertising. February, I made more than I made in January. March, I made more than I made in February. It's kind of like this pyramid scheme that I've created. I've helped a group of people, and they tell their friends, and they tell their friends. It's all referral business. Okay, so how did I have success from day one? I was reflecting back on it, and it was really about establishing my credibility. So I didn't realize a couple years ago I was going to be opening my own business. So I didn't think about all the stuff I was doing. I've always been good at writing resumes and getting jobs. I would write a resume, submit it for a job, and get a call back within 24 hours. And when I talked to other people, they had never had that kind of success. So I started wondering, what am I doing? Like at my last job, when I was ready to leave Domino's Pizza, where I worked at in Michigan, I applied for the job at Red Robin. I actually got a call back within 2 hours, and I got a relocation package out of that. So I kept thinking, what am I doing? So I just started testing the waters. I just started designing resumes and applying for jobs I didn't even want, just to see what would happen. I went undercover at job fairs. I read all the books on resumes, which is so funny. That is how I met Dale, because his book, Resumes Are Worthless. I'm like, oh, I gotta read this. So I read this, and I loved the book. I gave it 5 stars, and then I reached out to Dale. I'm like, hey, read my book. So I read everything I could get my hands on, and I started helping other people for free. So I would help my friend, and they would have the same kind of success. So it was time that I didn't get paid for, but what it was establishing my credibility and building that those relationships with people. If you help someone and they get a job fast, they're going to tell everybody they know. So I became an expert. Then I systematized it. So that's when I wrote my first book, because I had to find a way to share that knowledge. I wrote my first ebook, and again, the fear. I was like, what if I put this out there and I get a bad review? Or what if someone says I'm stupid? I was so scared to put that book out there, but I did. It was just an ebook, and the opposite happened. I got a lot of positive reviews on Amazon, and a lot of people contacting me saying, oh, Debra, your book really helped me. Thank you so much. So I think if I wouldn't have done all these things a couple of years before, I don't think my company would have been as successful. And if I just tried to open like a construction company, I've never picked up a hammer in my life. That would be a disaster. So again, become an expert at something, systematize it, and then find a way to share your knowledge to build that credibility. Bless you. Okay, this is a weird slide, but let me explain it. I had that fear that I don't want to open a resume writing company because there's already a lot of them out there, and I'm probably going to make enough to get by. I'll write a resume, make some money. I didn't think anything of it. So I started with my two MVPs, my minimal viable product, a resume writing service and a LinkedIn makeover service. I launched those. What happened is my customers were asking me for other things. So once I did a good service for them and established that relationship, they're like, hey, Debra, can you write my cover letter? Can you do this? So I added more services. Then I landed that contract that I told you about earlier, worth $136,000. That's for a mass service. Initially, I wasn't thinking anything outside individual services. So my mind went from individual resume writing services to mass services, and that could be government services, that could be for companies going out of business looking for some help with outplacement, that could be with colleges. Again, I never thought about that when I first opened my business. Then my resume templates. I have 2 resume templates right now. Why can't I just make more to sell? That's more passive income. Resume writing certification. This is something that I did not expect to happen. I wrote a resume for this woman. She applied, she got an interview, or they contacted her about the job, and she ended up getting the job. The president of her company came to her and said it was the best resume he had ever seen. After that happened to her, she came back to me. That was a very powerful experience for her, and she's like, Debra, I want to learn your resume writing system. I want to do this too. So what I have found is some people, they want to learn this system, and I could certify them or I could franchise my name out. I've actually hired her, so I'm really excited to be working with her. Workshops, I can do online or in person. Pre-recorded webinars. I've seen a lot of other entrepreneurs do this. They do a pre-recorded webinar with a lot of good information, and then at the end, they do a flash sale. For the next 20 minutes, my whatever product or service is going to be on sale. And then the membership site I told you, that Job Seekers Fastlane Toolkit, that's something I never thought I was going to create. So what I learned is, again, I had this tunnel vision. I thought, opening a resume writing company, there's no potential. It's so dumb. It's already been done. But I have found the opposite to be true. So I'm not going to limit myself anymore. Okay, here's kind of my last thing, and this has 2 parts to it. Get out of your comfort zone. So take risk, put yourself out there, get feedback, and be able to adapt to change. I've learned something about risk taking. Quitting my job was probably the biggest risk I ever took. But what I said to myself, why am I so scared to let go of this job that I don't want? You know, I want out of this job so bad, but why am I so scared to let go? So I took that risk and I opened my own business. Now, all of the other risks, they don't seem so risky because they're much smaller in scale to me. You may take a risk and it may not work out for you, but it's not the end of the world. those risks that you are not taking, you're not going to get those big payoffs. That's what I learned. Like, so I am way more, I'm way more into just taking more risk. Put yourself out there. Okay, that job search radio, I really did not want to do that. I hate being recorded. So I thought, I'm going to sound dumb, I'm going to say something stupid, and it's going to be on the internet forever. When I did that job search radio episode, a representative of the company that I landed that big contract with, he heard me on job search radio, bought my book, and then reached out. So I might have not had that opportunity if I didn't do that. Give feedback. Like everyone's been saying, be open to things. Like, I have to take a lot of feedback from people, and I might not agree with it, but I'm going to find some way to make it useful. And then being able to adapt to change. The more you can adapt to change as an entrepreneur, the more successful you're going to be. That first month I released my minimal viable products, I adapted my services within 30 days to what they are today. So just, being able to adapt to change. Don't take success for granted. Continue to innovate. I am doing really well right now. The reason I hired 2 people is so I can actually start doing marketing, because if I try to do marketing right now with just me doing the services, that's probably not going to be good. I'm not going to be able to handle the orders. But I realize the job market can change. Resumes could go out of style. So I'm always, trying to keep track of what's going on with things. So one thing I am doing at the end of this year, I'm going to the Talent Connect conference, the LinkedIn conference in Las Vegas. And I'm doing that because LinkedIn is one of my core services. So the more insight I can gain about LinkedIn, the better services I can provide for people. But I'm also doing that because that LinkedIn conference attracts recruiters and hiring managers from around the country. I'm going to be immersed in the group that uses the products I create the most. I'm going to spy on them. I'm going to listen to what they're saying. I'm going to network with them. I'm going to try to partner with them. And, I don't know if any of my other competitors are doing something like this. So another part that has made my business so successful is just innovating. The resumes I create, it's not just a standard template I fill in. It's based on my degree in information design, where I have analyzed how recruiters and hiring managers use resumes, and I've used science to develop my resume methodology. Wow, I think I went through that really fast. So I promised I was going to leave time for questions at the end. And if you ask a question that makes me look good, you get a free book. Yes. Well, gosh, it kind of just fell in my lap because I was thinking, gosh, I want to start my own business. And then I got this email from Dale. Hey, I'm creating this Entrepreneur Dream Academy, and it's designed for working professionals who want to start their own business. To me, it was a very good value. And I think being a working professional and that wanted to start my own business, that's the group I was attracted to. Yep, and you get your book. Yes?
I understand that your resume is very successful, your type of resume. Mm-hmm. Do you think the way resumes are kind of perceived or used? Do you change the way of resumes are used in business?
So am I trying to change how resumes are used to get jobs?
Specifically try to change, but do you think that your way of resume writing is changing the way they are perceived or utilized or kind of standard?
Yes, that's a great question. So that is one of my goals, because there's a lot of bad resume advice out there and people blindly follow it and they're not getting the results they want. There's a lot of things like, oh, have an objective statement on your resume. Well, technically your resume is one big objective itself, and that's to get a job. So I'm trying to influence it. When I look at a lot of my competitors, they still use a very old school template. when I work with my clients, after I explain this is why I did this on your resume, a light bulb goes off for them. Yes? Oh. Yes, sorry.
Yes. So if Microsoft talks of purchasing LinkedIn, how do you think that would affect your department?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and that's actually why I'm going to go to the LinkedIn conference at the end of the year to kind of understand, what's going to be changing about that. Because when I write a LinkedIn profile, I write it from the viewpoint of the recruiter who's using LinkedIn to search for candidates on there. So I know that, like, how you have to have keywords embedded. If you're looking for a job in a certain area, you need to have that zip code in there, because if you use your home zip code, it's going to rank you lower in the search. So that's something I still need to understand. That's a great question. Yes.
Still curious about the degree in information design. How did you utilize that in your corporate positions before you opened?
That is a really great question. Okay, so remember I told you information design is designing information to get a certain audience to think or do something. At my jobs at the Domino's Pizza World headquarters and Red Robin, I worked in the learning and development department. My job was to create training materials to train all of the 5,000 pizza stores and their employees, or the 500 Red Robins. And what happens is you can push something out from a corporate standpoint. That doesn't mean the employees are going to do it. So what I had to do was really understand our employees working at the restaurant level and design the information to get them to carry out these corporate initiatives. Yes?
I'm thinking about seeing your customer. So what do you get off of that 175?
Wow, you set me up great for that one. Okay, that's so funny. So what I do is I take the resume you have and I say, what kind of jobs are you going to be targeting? I do research on my end, because when I look at job ads, what I notice is the job ad for a technical writer at one company may have very diverse requirements from the job ad for another company. I will go look at a bunch of job postings and then I look for requirement trends. I look at your resume, I make notes on what changes I'm going to make, then we schedule a phone call and I ask you questions to clarify things or say, hey, this skill is very important, tell me a little more about this. I write the resume, send it back to you, and you get unlimited revisions until you're happy with it. And then I provide coaching, because one of the things that makes me sad is if someone writes your resume but they don't give you tips on how to tailor it for future job postings, it's not going to help you. So after I write that core resume, I will work with you to say, okay, here's the first job you want to apply for. These are the minor tweaks I would make in this resume because I want you to be empowered to tailor it for future job postings. There's so much competition for jobs now. If you don't come across as the perfect candidate, your chances of getting the job are very slim. So that's why you have to make those changes.
So just a follow up. So is it like just one time, or because each job requirements may vary, So
yeah.
Is it like a one time?
Yeah, so it's the initial fee of $175 includes the core resume and then coaching how to tailor it to your first job. After that, if you have questions, I'm always happy to help my clients. But I'm hoping after that first session, you're going to make those connections and be able to do it yourself. Thank you for that question. Yes?
When you come across a client who asks you to cook their resume, like add a stuff that they haven't done, like cooking their resume.
Oh, like making it sound better?
Right over some lemons.
Yeah, so this is what's funny. I have a lot of clients that say that disagree with how I want to do their resume, because they're used to seeing a resume one way, and when I make big changes or I cut a lot of stuff, it's very hard on them. So I am trying to work on being a good coach for them and advocating this. I'm saying this because this is in your best interest. I am really good at filtering what recruiters and hiring managers are looking for in resumes. The problem is when you write your own resume, you're too close to your experience and you cannot objectively filter what to put on there. So sometimes I clarify. I'll say, well, what did you really mean when you said that? And then I'll, make it sound good without lying about it, basically. Thank you. And I think there was a question.
Yeah, so do you see video resumes really picking up? Because I know within my company, I hate reading resumes.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've started doing is I have HR respond back to certain candidates and basically provide me a video resume. That way I get a better feel for those individuals before I go through the interview. Do you see that becoming more popular, or do you see more of that being done in the industry?
Yeah, I only see it for very few companies. I say only do a video resume if it asks you for a video resume. And I do have a certain format on how to do that. I don't know if it's going to become mainstream, because what happens with a resume, recruiters are just getting bombarded by hundreds of resumes, and it takes them 8 seconds to scan a resume to make an initial judgment about the candidate. Watching a video, that would really bog down the whole process. But I know some companies specifically ask for it.
You said the resumes, old school template forms. Do you see cover letters the same way? Do you think cover letters are also kind of passe?
So that's a great question. This is the reality of it. If you include so let's say a job ad does not specifically say include a cover letter. If you include a cover letter, it's probably not going to be read, and this is why. Let's say they spent 30 seconds reading your cover letter only to flip it over and say, oh, this is a bad candidate. They just wasted their time. I try to tell my clients only include a cover letter if it asks you to, and usually those cover letters are to weed people out. So a lot of people are too lazy to do one, so it weeds some people out. And it typically has specific instructions. So if you don't follow those instructions that it says about the cover letter, that helps weed you out too. So for me, I was always able to get jobs very easily. I never did a cover letter. And those were even out-of-state jobs. But my clients want them, so I do them. Yes, ma'am.
So you talked about a lot of the success of your clients where they got an opportunity as an end result.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm curious to what tools you aided them in the actual interview. Because the resume could be, awesome, but then does that play out in an interview? So
that's very interesting. This is what happens. People do not think that far down the road. They think, I just need a resume to get my foot in the door. And they get their foot in the door and they bomb the interview. Some people pay for interview coaching, so I do offer that service. I charge $100 for 1 hour. And how I got good at that is like I told you, I would just apply for jobs just to see what would happen, to experiment with my resume methodology. And I would go through the interview to practice. And I would document all of these questions. And I've learned so much. I've interviewed at so many companies around the country. So that is something that I try to offer a package to get people to do that, but people don't think that far down the road. That's a great question. Yes?
My question was, you started your business this year and you've already, spun out a few more products than you had thought of initially. Are you able to see down the road, say 2 years or 5 years for your business?
Only in the past couple of days. So remember I had that slide on being short-sighted? It was very hard for me to hire 2 resume writers and really let go of doing that core work, because I really want the best for my clients, and I don't want, it's hard to learn it the way I know it. I see so many opportunities on resumes that other people don't see. But what I realized is I love entrepreneurship, and I see so many opportunities now, and I've got to stop doing the resume writing in order to do the bigger picture stuff. So my goal is I would like to create membership sites for different colleges, around the country, and say, hey, here's something for all your students, because right now a lot of college have really outdated resume resources. So I want to do that. I want to do more workshops. I want to do more of like certifying other people. That's definitely something I want to grow with, but I just need to get my hands out of doing all the resumes, which is hard. Thanks for your question. Yes?
So you said you've done lots of resumes for different jobs. Is it a range of like technical to secretarial to?
Oh gosh.
Job just types.
It's funny, I've recently done an FBI resume where I've talked about some very interesting thing about being able to kill people, you know? That's like, yeah, that's an awesome skill that you probably wouldn't want in a corporate resume. I recently did a resume for a professional baseball player. It's so interesting, the range of people that are coming in. I do a lot of executive resumes, sales associate resumes. It's really when a customer has a positive experience with you, and they have a product they're really proud of and they show their friends, then people are like, I want that. You know, I want that same experience. And that's what's happening. So on my website, I don't say, oh, I only do this type of resume. Yeah. Yeah, but some resume writing companies only, they do specify what they want to work on. But I learned from each person that I encounter and do their resume, I learned something that makes me better that I can help my next client. Yes.
Once you started your business, what were the challenges you faced, or the biggest challenges you faced?
You know what's funny? My biggest challenge was myself. I had this negative mindset that I was not going to be successful. I had heard so many horror stories about opening your own business. I've known people that have lost their marriage and their house and drained their bank account over opening their own business. So I'm like, that's going to happen. I know it. Just getting over my own mindset, having confidence. It's so, when you say I'm the expert on this, I'm the authority on this, it's so hard to put yourself out there because there's critics everywhere and not everyone's going to agree with you. So growing a thick skin. I thought, oh, I'm going to have trouble with marketing and getting more business. That hasn't been a problem. It's me making all these wrong assumptions instead of just going with the flow of the business. Another hard thing is I want to keep going back and fixing all these things, but it's stopping me from making progress. So my website is still a mess right now from my eyes, and I'll go back and fix that. So prioritizing what's going to move the bar for my business. Yes.
When did you decide, or usually I prepare a lot, so I'm going to ask this question. When did you decide you're done preparing, you're good enough, you're an expert, you can do it?
For like resumes?
Right.
Basically, this is when I went and read all the resume books out there. Well, this is what's funny. So I was helping my friends. I just did an impromptu resume writing workshop, and one of my friends said, hey, you should write a book on this. I've never heard this process before. I'm like, that's dumb. It's got to be in all the resume books. So I went and I read every resume book. I have stacks of them in my office, and I read them and I laugh. I'm like, that's bad. That's bad advice. So at that point, I'm like, this system has not been documented. It is not out there. No one sees resumes like I do. So at that point, that's when I kind of wrote the book and got a little more serious about it. So, do a lot of research. See what all your competitors are doing. Yes. Yeah.
Backup plan when you run your business, like somebody supporting you financially.
So do I have someone supporting me financially?
Backup plan.
So yes, I am married. It's funny because my husband and I have always kept separate accounts, so I've always been self-sufficient. Working for all those years, I was able to save a good amount of money. So what I told myself is, if this doesn't work out, yeah, I might stop making money for a while, but I can always go back. That I had that fear of holding on to that job that I didn't want anymore and was stressing me out. So I think it is good to have some sort of safety net. And again, I launched my business when I was still working full time. So I tested the waters while I still had my job, and it was a lot of late nights doing a lot of extra work for my business, but it was worth it, and it was only for a couple of months.
Sorry. Can you talk a little bit about your book and how you actually went about launching that and marketing it? Because it sounds like you sold a lot of your books.
Yeah, so my first book, my ebook, I worked really hard on marketing it because, again, I didn't have this idea I was going to start a business, so I was just focusing on that. And I did a Facebook party. Has anyone been to a Facebook party? Cassidy? Well, what kind of party have you been to, if you don't mind sharing? Oh, okay. So this is what I love about Facebook parties. I'm not really a social person. I love going to Facebook parties because it's going to a party without leaving the house. And you can serve virtual appetizers. At my Facebook party, I had a virtual bartender. It was open bar, right? That's pretty nice. So I launched the book through a virtual Facebook party. And then I reached out to people, like that's how I reached out to Dale. Dale, can I share this book with you? I just read your book, Resumes Are Worthless, but can you read my book, please? So I kept reaching out to people. And again, word spread. So if you have a book that helps somebody, and my book was only $5.99, the ebook, they're gonna tell their friends about it. So that's kind of what happened. Again, it's just word of mouth. This book, I've been so busy with the business, I haven't had a whole ton of time to do promotion for it, but I want to. But what I learned is I put a book out there, right? And it has my resume system. That's all you need to know to write your own resumes. A lot of people don't want that. They still want me. They want me to do it. They want my knowledge. They want me in person. So, you know, the book, I had to realize not everyone's going to use that, even though I desperately wanted them to use that.
I guess it speaks more to the changing times. So I recall sitting through a resume critique course as an intern maybe 6 or 7 years ago. It was general rule, do not put a picture on your resume.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the influence of social media and LinkedIn, what are your thoughts on that? I guess were you involved in more resume before LinkedIn became huge, or?
Yeah. So, you know, specifically for your question about should you put a picture on a resume, I still say no. It's great to have it on all of your social media stuff, but the problem, you're putting the employer at risk because they see a picture of you. They could be discriminated against if they say no, or it could be discrimination if they say no to your resume when you have your picture on there. But with LinkedIn, so I'll tell you a little bit about my LinkedIn experience. For some reason, I've always been obsessed about keeping my LinkedIn profile up to date. Whenever I had an accomplishment, I would run and update my LinkedIn profile. Why I did that, this is what happened. I eventually stopped even needing a resume because I would get so many job opportunities through LinkedIn. When you have a robust LinkedIn profile, it shifts the power to you. When an employer is coming to you first, you have more salary negotiation power. You can skip a lot of the, you know, that where you have to submit your resume and wait to hear from things. So there's a lot of things I do on a LinkedIn profile to build your credibility. What happens is if you have a really robust and credible LinkedIn profile, it takes the risk out of interviewing you. They already can see a lot about you versus a candidate who maybe has nothing out there. So it really is a time saver for them because you don't appear to be a risky employee. So you target your LinkedIn profile for the types of jobs you want to be found for, and they will come to you. Like Amazon in Seattle keeps bugging me. I've interviewed with Victoria's Secret. They actually offered to let me meet all the models if I came to work for them. I'm like, that's not a big deal for me, maybe for some people. So really, when you paint a clear picture of yourself and all your accomplishments and all the value you can add to a company, you don't even need a resume anymore. And the funny thing is, I sell more LinkedIn makeovers than I do resumes now, which again, I made the assumption I would sell resumes, virtual resume coach. Yes.
In your book, is it a tell-all book or a tell back some concept? It would make us come and work.
Oh boy. Okay, gosh. It does have some juicy gossip about my pug in there. No, okay, this is what I tried to do. I did try to make it a tell-all book. But what I realized is reading this book is going to help the average person write a better resume, but it's never going to be the level of knowledge I have. So yes, it does have all of my resume secrets, but I'm always improving myself on a daily basis. So when that book was published earlier this year, just from working with the sheer volume of clients I've had in the past 6 months, I've already increased my knowledge level and I would rewrite that book. So that's what's hard with the book. Yes.
Question about starting a business. So when I open a business, should I focus on growing customers first, then monetize it, or should I monetize it from day one? You know, I've seen some startup companies, you know, they don't make profit. Even LinkedIn, you know, still doesn't make profit, you know.
Yeah.
So they try to grow first, you know. So I don't know, you know, what would you recommend?
Well, I mean, for me, I don't think my business would have been successful if I didn't do all that free legwork to build my reputation with people and build these success stories. So I don't think it would have grown so fast. So for me, I don't know specifically for your business. For me, it is building your credibility and your client base. And again, what I've learned, even though I did those resumes for free, I was helping people. And when you give back, you get so much more in return. Does that answer your question? Or okay. Anyone else want a free book with a question? Those were really awesome questions today. Yes, you know, it's funny. I'm so sorry I forgot to mention that. Dale taught me incorporate your passion. Oh yeah, I totally missed a point. Okay, thank you. Dale taught me incorporate your passion into your business. I have a pug named Pork Chop, and he is the reason I wanted to work from home. I hated going into the office because I hate leaving that dog at home. He's actually a pug celebrity, so he has 1,000 followers on Facebook. We know other celebrity pugs, so I made him my chief marketing officer because people always ask me about him, but I made Pork Chop a resume and I put it on my website. It is the #1 visited page on my website, the dog resume, and people come up to me and they say, your dog's resume is better than my resume, and it's all real experience. So again, what really drove me is I want to stay home with my dog. But okay, let me talk about one point that I missed, and I apologize. So my passion is not writing resumes all day. I love it, but I've kind of seen the light at the end of the tunnel. If I can get this business running by itself, where I have to do very little work, I can get people I trust to run it, I can do my true passion. My true passion is making pug videos, and this is done. There are other celebrity pugs. Their mom and dad make videos of them all day. So that's what I've realized. If I can get this business growing, and it's doing really well right now, and I'm slowly stepping away from it, I can have that money I need to filming the pug all day. So again, you know, writing resumes is not my passion. I really enjoy it. I see it as a good information design project, but really ultimately it's spending more time with my dog and my husband. Can you turn that off, the video? Okay. Who did I owe? Who got a book for that one? Or did everyone get a book that asked a question? Oh, do you want a book? You want a book? Okay. Okay, well, you guys, thank you so much for all of your great questions and for having me here. I really wish I went to school here, but I'm very busy right now. It's been such a pleasure. And I have my business cards. Please reach out. Like, I love to network with people. And if you have any other questions or you just want to bounce ideas off, please reach out. I'm pretty friendly. So thank you.